Okay. So yesterday we have seen about before delete trigger, and then after triggers. In after trigger we have seen insert and update. So we need to continue with the delete. Just I will give you a quick recap. So before, what we have seen, before triggers. In the before triggers, we will be if we take an insert, we'll be having only trigger.new. Why? Because when we are trying to create a new record, there will be a no older version of it. So it all old map and old will be a null values. And new map. Usually, what is the structure between a list and map? Map will be having a ID as a key, value as a record. So when we having a before insert, that is the record is not being saved to the database yet. So it is not having a Salesforce ID created. So we will not be having a trigger.new map. So it is also a null value. We'll be having only a trigger.new. And when we go for a before triggers, if you want to have any validation rules, or if you want to based on given values, you want to populate any other fields or change the fields, then you'll go for a before triggers. So we have seen some examples with adding error and populating other fields based on the fields given that we have seen here. And in the before update trigger, it's an update. So there will be an old record, and we're trying to modify it. So we'll be having a old version of the data and new version of the data, and it's already existing record, even though it is not saved to database at the update, but previously the record is existed. So we'll be having values in all the context variable. Trigger at new, trigger at old, new map and old map will be having the values in it. New and new map will be having the same data, but only thing was the structure. New will be a list of objects. New map is a map of as objects where key is the ID, value is the record. Same with the old and old map. They will be having the same data exist, but the structure is different as a old and old map. Now a delete. When we're doing a delete, actually what we did, we'll just click on a delete button, but we are not changing any of the record values. So there won't be any new values to it. New values will be completely null. New and new map will be having only a triggered or old, and triggered or old map will be having a data which are a read-only value. So we cannot modify them because we're going to delete it. And even though it's a delete, we can add a error. We can add an error saying that we can stop the delete process, and it will show a message to us. Okay, what is the validation we're having? So I have shared the code with you. You can try with that code in your developer org, and you can try to delete and see. Just go through the code. I have had some notes to that code as well, so it will be helpful. And coming to after triggers. So in the after triggers, it will fire when record is saved to a database. Before, immediately when you click a save, before it reaching a database itself, the before triggers will be fired, and we can modify those in the trigger.new, like let's say insert and update, like we can add error messages, we can stop, or like we can continue with the some values populated. Whereas in after triggers, after saving the record to a database, it will be fired after triggers, so that whatever the requires insert will be IDs will be created in the after trigger. So update, there's no need to create any IDs, right? Already IDs exist. So the only problem was, so it's already saved to database. We cannot edit any of the values in the trigger.new. So still, if you want to looking for some record update, we have to query the data and then do a update then only it will work. We cannot directly change the values in the trigger.new. So that's what I have written here. It will be fired after saving the record to a database. It will, you can see the new changes in the SQL query. So already the records are saved to a database. So with the same IDs, if you query the records, you'll be seeing the same data what you have been already saved. So in SQL queries also, you will find the information. But the context variables are read only. So after making query to this object, and you can make and you can do a update. That's what you do after triggers. But in after triggers, there is a possibility of recursive triggers. Okay, what is a recursive trigger? Let's say I made update to one record. So I was talking about in a after update triggers, there is a possibility of a recursiveness, not an insert, but only in an update. So if you're having the after update logic, and again you're updating the same records, you need to make sure that you had a valid condition which will not met again and again. On the other day, we are looking at the scenario. Let's say I have an account with a name and a account number field. If in case account number is a blank, I want to copy the account name to a account number and update the account record. So if I write a logic such that I will query all the records which are all made changes, I will capture the IDs, and then this octal query I'll get the results. So I will copy from account name to account number. If account number is blank, then I will update. So what will happen, because I'm doing a performing a update operation, again it will fire a after update trigger, and again it will enter into the same one. Again what I'm doing, I'm querying on the records and I'm populating the name to a number if it is not blank. Anyway, it will not enter into that loop. Why? Because already values are there, but still I am querying on the same data and I'm updating it, even though there is no changes, but I'm still updating it. So what will happen, this will continue happening. Update, it will update and again fire the trigger and again update. So it's kind of a recursiveness, it will never ending process. So you should be having your logic such that you should not update multiple times. So will you having a query, instead of having a condition in my for loop, I will add that condition in my SQL query itself. What are all the new records and which are all account numbers are blank, only those accounts only I would like to update. So once records are there, if already I populated, so first time I don't have a value, so it will enter into the trigger. So the query will return the results, and I copy the value from name to account number, and I'll update and then do update. When the next time now I do the update, so it will fire update trigger. Now if you look at the values, the query will be saying where account number is blank, but already populated, so the results will be a blank. So even though I update, there will be a no records there. So it will stop the recursiveness. So this is how we need to make sure that while writing the after update triggers, you need to make sure that you are giving a valid update which will not cause a recursiveness. And okay, explaining about insert after insert. So well as before insert, we don't have a new map because we don't have ID. Whereas after insert already saved to database, so ID will be generated. So you'll be having a trigger.new map also available along with the trigger.new. Because it's an insert, we don't have a old and old map values. And after update also we have a same. but only trigger.new and new map will be having a read-only values, whereas in before update, we can directly make changes to the trigger.new, whereas here it are read-only values. So if you want to update, you have to query and do update, but you can add errors even in the after triggers also. We can add the errors where we can stop the transaction. So what will happen was already saved to a database. The thing was they already saved to database, and if you're doing something again, you do update, and you at the end you are adding some error, like some violation is failing from your after trigger, and it's giving some error. If you look at the debug log, it looks like you already having this records are created with some ID. But what will happen was when you're adding some error at the end, all those creations and changes that are happened in the after trigger or before trigger, everything will be rollback. So before you're making the change, what are all things you did in your triggers or in your direct changes, everything will be rolled back and you no longer see it. So let me explain the what a trigger that we tried yesterday. So far, do we have any questions? So here is our after trigger. Let's take one by one. Now after insert, so here I want to add some error messages and I want to create a contact record. Whenever a new account is added, I want to create a one default contact to the account record. So here, if you look at the logic over here, what we done. So here we are explaining about the bulkification as well. So when there is an account that's coming newly, and when we having a website and phone which are not blank, that is when we have both phone and website, I would like to create a new contact to the account. So if you observe in the for loop, I was not creating any contact. What I'm doing, I was creating a new contact instance and I'm copying the fields. So name has to be exactly same as account name and first name has to be default contact and email I was not giving hardcoded value and phone number also hardcoded value. Instead of that, I can use account phone, this one, and then this is what the key thing. So you have to mention the account ID of this account, then only the account will be shown on this account record, and then add to the list. And at the end of outside the for loop, we have to perform the insert operations. Otherwise, if you keep this insert inside this one, what will happen? So how many times the for loop is executed, those many times your insert will be performed. That means like if you're having the 200 records in the trigger.new, then you are inserting it 200 times, which is a governor limit issue. So in transaction, how many DMLs we can perform? We can perform 150 DMLs. and you're having more than 150 records, it will fail saying that you are entered into the governor limit of 151 DML operation. So that's why wherever we having a for loop, and if you want to perform any kind of a DMLs or SOQL queries, we have to write outside the for loops. So this concept is called a bulkification. So we are not performing these operations inside the loops, and somehow we are bringing out of the for loops by using a list or a map or any collection types. So that's what we are doing in the inside. So if you see, there are some error also we're adding. That is a website. Anyway, like when website is blank, it will fail. And if it is not blank, then only I was creating contact. So there is no conflict. If in case I was only looking on the phone number, not on the website, then what will happen? Even though there is a phone number, there is a chance of not having a website. So even though you create a contact, there will be error saying that website is a no, website is a blank. So in that case, what will happen? It will create the contacts and it will add the error messages and it will roll back everything. So whatever the created contacts, that will be rolled back, and whatever the created accounts, that will be rolled back. So no account and no contacts are get created. So that's what we call it as a commit. So even though it's saved to a database, those changes are not committed to the database. Once it is committed, then only the changes will be reflected. And when we having a trigger error, the logics will be rollbacked. When rollback, when this transaction is started before, so there will be some what are the condition of the database that will be there, and after this transaction is being started, whatever happens in this transaction, everything will be rolled back, means it will be switched back to that save point. So even we can do in our Apex code also, we can use the save point and rollback. Whenever there is some some logic is not as expected and you're getting some exceptions, it will automatically roll back. And if you have a specific point, you don't want to roll back everything, and you have a specific um, point to be rolled back, and you can use a save point and a rollback. That I will explain. So again, after update. In after update, here you can see what I was trying to say, like I want to do some updation logic. So I have to account number, which I need to copy from account name. So what I'm doing here, I have a new map where I was getting a key set and where it will be having all record IDs of that are created. And I was running a SOQL query where ID in a account ID set. If I don't add this condition, account number equal to null. So what will happen? What are all changes I did? The same records will be there in the account list. And here I'm saying if account number is blank, then copy the account name to a account number and then do a update to it. But this if condition is irrespective, whether it will execute or not doesn't matter. So what will get updated? Whatever the results of this SQL query, that will get updated. So if you don't have this account number equal to null condition, let's say I have created one account with the account number as a null, then it will enter and it will give the result saying one record, and then here it will copy account name from account number and get updated. And next time again it will fire the after update trigger. If I have this condition, in the next time when it will come, this results will be 0 or it will not get any results, and you're not updating anything. If I remove this condition, then what will happen? Even though that is having the value, it will be returning the same result even whether account number is having or not having. So every time you update, again it will fire. So it will become a recursive trigger. So you need to make sure that you will be having a proper condition set and you're doing an update in a after trigger, after update trigger specifically. Okay. Now Any questions so far? This is what so far yesterday we covered, and now we'll move on to the after delete one. Okay. So in the after delete, so in the before delete, what we have? We don't have a trigger dot new and new map. Both are nulls, and we have only the old and old map. So as what after delete, what will happen? You will be no longer having this records in the database. So already that will be deleted from the when you try to write a query, you will not getting any result. Let's say when on delete, let's say I was deleting a account, there will be some child records exist, right? So this is after means after it is deleted from a database, correct? So when it is deleted from database, whatever the contacts you see, in that contacts also they'll become orphan. So those contacts will be no longer having a relation with the account. Let me give you an example. I have accounts. Okay, I have a one account and I don't have any contacts to it. Now I'd like to create a same account. I would like to create one contact to it. So I have one contact under the Wipro. So what I was trying to do was I'm going to a before triggers. Okay, in the before delete trigger, I have something called if annual revenue is not null or greater than 0, I want to add a error here. Similarly, what I want to do is I want to check if this account is having some contacts. I I don't want or I want to add some error message. I should not allow the record to be deleted when account is having some child records. So what I will do, I will have a set of ID account set equal to trigger dot, sorry, we will be having only old, right? Trigger dot old map dot key set. So I'll be having all the IDs of the accounts I'll get. Now what I will do, now I will do a list of contacts, contact list, where select ID comma last name comma account ID from contact, where account ID in this account, this one as account ID set, and this account ID set. So I will be having all contacts from this list. Now I need to check when I'm having this one. If this account is having any contacts, then I should add error. If sorry, I will add this condition. So add error. You have some contacts related to the account. Move your contacts to other accounts before deleting the account. This is going to be my error message. So what should be the condition? How I can check whether this account is having a contacts or not? Any idea for anyone?
A contacted account ID. It's related field.
Sorry.
The contact dot account ID. The related field.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the list, right? So there are contacts from a multiple accounts. This is not from a single account, right?
So we can do get method from the list. Get key set.
Yeah, if we have a single, so like a string or integer, we can directly get using that value, but it's a subject, right? So we cannot use a get on a subject list. So we have to convert this to a map. First of all, I need to convert this list to a map. So the map should be in such a way that what is the account ID? Sorry, what is the yeah, account ID and related contacts. So I will be having a one map of ID comma map of ID comma a list of contact. Contact map. New map of list of contact. So this is what I'm going to have a structure. So what I'm trying to do, I have queried the contacts that are related to the given accounts. There could be a one account or two or multiple accounts. This is all together contacts for all the accounts. So I need to split for each account what is the contact list. So that's what I'm trying to maintain in this map. I have the account ID I want to store here. It could be any ID. It could be account contact ID, generic ID. So I want to store the account ID and the related contacts into this list. How I can iterate on this contact list, all contacts, and split between the contacts. Okay. So first thing in this account map, I has to put. So what are the methods of a map? If you want to add one element, you can use a put. And here the key will be going to be a c dot account id, comma, I have one contact, so I would like to new list of contact with C. I have C, right? So if you observe, so every account will have only one contact. No, right? They might have a contact, or they might not have a contact, or they have a multiple contacts, 2, 3, 4, 10, 100. They can have any number of contacts for each account. That's why I gave a list here. So if I look at my logic, what it's doing, if I have account ID, with that account ID, I was creating a new list with the current contact. Okay, I have with the same account ID, I have one more contact. Then what will happen? It will only keep the latest value. It will not hold the old values. So this should happen only for the first time. And I have a one more logic, that is, so uh, I'm already having an account ID with some contacts over here. So I want to get that list, and to that I want to add this contact. When account ID is already exist, I want to add. If I don't have an account ID, then I want to add a new list. So what should be the conditions to this both? So the first one will be when this map does not contain, so contains key. If it does not contains the account ID, that means when you're trying to add the first time, then you have to add like a new list here. Else, so if you're not having, you're going to add a new list with the account ID. If it is else means, that means it's already having, right? If it is not having, it will enter here. Else means if it is already having. If it is already having, I will just get that account and try to add the contact. So after ending this for loop, what will be happening in this map? You will be having a map structured with the key will be the account ID, value will be the list of contacts. I think this is some kind of a tricky, and this is what more complicated logic that you are going to use entire your programming using of a maps with the ID and the values as a list. So please ask me if you don't have understanding, or if you don't understand. You should have a very, very, very clear cut understanding of these few lines of code. So can someone tell me what we are trying to do here? Well, let me complete and then we'll come back. So now this map, what is having? It will be having a account ID, and if there are any contacts are there, then it will be having a list of contacts and next to it as a value. So in the for loop, I have account ID and I will check if it is having some contacts. That means this map contains key. The key should be acc.id. That means it is having some contacts to it. If it's having the contents, then I should add the error message. That's it. So can someone explain what All we're trying to do here, having some contact. Yep. Can someone explain so that I will get a confidence that you understood? Otherwise, we can ask the question like, what is not clear? Um, Let me try out the logic now. So when we have a contact, it will not allow us to delete. So I was writing this logic in a before trigger, and I have an account and it's having some contacts. I was trying to delete this contact. Yes. We have some contacts related to the account. Move the contacts to other accounts before deleting the account. So let's say if I go to an account which is where I don't have any contacts to it, let's say this one. If I do a delete, I don't have any error message. It got deleted. Just undo it.